I'd like to invite you to my new podcast, Encouragement Only. I'm Janis Commentz, a painter, a retired teacher, a traveler, a Substack writer, and my most important job, encourager. I'd like to share with you art tips, travel experiences, stories of humanity. I will be focusing on mind, body, soul, and spirit. As we look forward to the future, may we choose to encourage each other more and perhaps blame each other a little less. Accountability begins with each of us. May we leave each space a bit better for our having been there. I hope you will join me on Encouragement Only.
March greetings, dear friends. I am thinking of many of you on this March day. Yesterday it was quite windy, and now it looks like spring in the northern hemisphere, and as autumn is moving into the southern hemisphere. Occasionally, on the path to inspiration, things grow a bit difficult. This year, my painting slowed down, and it's been a busy winter. Travel, holidays, late family visits, and the holidays all over again. But it's been a good time. I believe you have to eat art in order to create. If you are a painter, look for visual inspiration. Visit openings, studios, museums, galleries, and look closely at paintings. If you are a musician, live music may be most motivating. If you write, read. Whatever form of creativity you enjoy, steep yourself in well-executed pieces and experiences. Enjoy other genres. I often find work that is very different from mine can be thought-provoking. Artist dates. Last week, I planned what Julia Cameron, author of The Artist's Way, calls artist dates. An artist date can be a modest experience, such as walking into a favorite shop, looking at fabric, or something that stirs the imagination. Attending art openings, galleries, or museum shows jumpstarts the flow of creative juices. In 5 days, I attended 5 openings, and guess what? The next day, I had the urge to paint, and I've been painting every day since. I am sharing some of my in-progress work and encourage you to get out your paints, musical instruments, writing pad, or keyboard, and get moving. And I will share painters who inspired me this month. Since this is the auditory version of my Substack newsletter, you will have to tune in to the written version to see the photos. In progress. I provided a sneak peek of paintings still in progress. Sometimes I sit and look at a work for several days. I remember watching my mother do much of the same thing. She'd paint, and the next day paint a little more. She'd observe it on the mantel. I watched her go through frantic experiences, such as the afternoon she was about to take her new work to her McDowell Art League meeting. She sprayed on a varnish and watched in dismay as it began to turn brown. I'm not sure how she fixed it, but it's lovely today. Art is a process. And I've included for you 4 different paintings that I worked on this week. Sometimes there is a little agony completing a new work and reward. I am, of course, painting Paris from reference photos, but they are my own photos. I know what time of day they were taken and what I was feeling. I reach back to lovely memories of strolling Paris avenues. The Saint Laurent neighborhood boasts many well-known cafes, art galleries, and shops. On December evenings, I walked the neighborhood illuminated by Christmas lights. The Wallace Fountain is near Église Saint Germain-des-Prés, the oldest church in Paris. Morning walks are always a pleasure, and the Rue de l'Odéon is a well-traveled street. As I paint Pontchartrain, I know the little dark patches under the bridge are tents where the homeless huddle. This is where Jean Valjean of Les Miserables threw himself into the Seine. The pont, or bridge, links the Ile de la Cité to the right bank and was constructed in the 9th century. In 1141, Louis VII mandated that all currency exchange activities be conducted on it. It became a hub for goldsmiths and money changers. It connects the Conciergerie, where Marie Antoinette spent her last 2 months before her execution, to the Palais de Justice. There is beauty, and there's history and humanity. I can see people streaming slowly across the bridge. On another day, I walked along the Seine under the Pont Marie and was surprised to find clusters of tents, which I now realize are a small percentage of what were removed prior to the July Olympic Games. All of this floats through my head as I paint. I am no expert, but I know there is much being done to help the homeless in Paris. Many churches and organizations such as Serve the City Paris and the French Red Cross play key roles. The American Church in Paris, which really should be called the International Church in Paris, provides winter homeless shelter for refugees from January through March in the city. Many other churches serve the homeless, and I've included a list in the images. As I paint, for years I have hidden my small brushes from my workshop students. When I buy a new pack, I hide the tiny ones. This week I've been digging them out, and then I find I've got to hide them from myself. It is better to use the largest possible brush to keep work loose and fresh. I like a flat or bright brush that I can turn on its side to create a fine line, and I'm using a fairly large size 14 today. I want to create just a hint, a slash of a tree trunk or a branch or a flagpole. I generally keep black off my palette, and I do not lay out brown. I teach my students how to mix colors. Colors opposite each other on the color wheel mix to a dark brownish shade. I do not mix gray from just black and white. You will create a much richer color by combining 3 colors, such as my favorite go-tos: magenta, ultramarine blue, and phthalo green. It will give you a rich, dark shade. Add this to white and create a lovely gray. You can cool the tone by adding cool blues such as ultramarine and warm it by adding a dash of yellow ochre or cadmium red. And this week, I allowed myself to paint with a little black. Paint as you want to paint. As my brushes touch the canvas, I am hearing poems about the Seine in my head. On the same day I walked by the tents along the Seine, I attended a book launch for The River Has No Color. I heard the intriguing words read aloud by Australian-born poet Jessica Taggart-Rose, and in French by Claire Durand-Gasselin, who translated the poems for this wonderful volume. The slim book also provides me with French lessons as I read the poems side by side in English and French. The poems create a story. The River Seine is an unlikely goddess, keeper of secrets, source of hope. In Jessica Taggart-Rose's debut pamphlet, plunging us into the artery that runs through the heart of Paris, Rose explores the relationships between the human and non-human, between the past and present, between water and sky. From the book cover. So much winds its way through my head as I paint, avoiding the news, listening to podcasts, especially my favorites by Crystal Kenny and Claudine Hemingway of La Vie Creative Podcast, and from my Audible library. Artists Close Up, my March Madness opening journey. Dreams Maintain, which includes Zara Kand as a featured artist, opened March 5th at Crafton Hills College Art Gallery, Yucaipa, California. And photos from the event and her paintings appear on my Substack newsletter. Kand is one of the High Desert's finest painters and writer and curator. She describes herself as a contemporary painter with hints of symbolism and surrealism. The exhibit, curated by the Artlands, Daniel Goleman, features women artists and will be on view through March 28th. I am so glad I caught the opening. Khan's work includes two-dimensional, three-dimensional, and video pieces. She also is an art writer and can be found at thegalleryspeaks.com and on her website, Zara, Z-A-R-A, Kand, K-A-N-D.com. On Friday, the 7th, I discovered it was First Friday Art Walk on El Paseo, Palm Desert. I love to meet and talk to artists. At Coda Gallery, I chatted with Michael Sternagel and was drawn to his colorful figurative work. And more of his work is on the website for the gallery, codagallery.com. Also, on the Palm Desert Art Walk, Jones and Terwilliger held an opening for Lindsay Godwin, who loves to paint Paris. Lots of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. Very sweet artist and work. Saturday, I attended the opening for Portal, an exhibit at La Matadora by Marian Vasquez in Joshua Tree. And friends met to cheer her on. We had a great time, and her work has a beautiful message. You can find her website at littledarkness.com. Sunday, I attended the 5th opening, a delightful opening for Marcia Geiger at the Spaghetti Western restaurant in Morongo Valley, where Judy and Timothy Hearson curate the Salon Saloon. Her Western pieces looked wonderful, and she, again, is another one of the top desert painters in the Joshua Tree area. As I conclude, I remind you to nourish your mind. We receive much unfiltered information hourly. Be sure to feed from well-recognized sources of intellectual sustenance: poetry, biographies of noble individuals, film, study a language. Body, keep moving. This may be the one time you want to do more to do more. Soul, seek uplifting works. Spirit, I leave you with a few quotes from Robert Henri's The Art Spirit. And if you don't have a copy of this century-old art student text, you need to get a copy. Here are several quotes. What we need is more sense of the wonder of life and less of this business of making a picture. In every human being, there is the artist, and whatever his, her activity, she has an equal chance with any to express the result of his growth and his contact with life. The object isn't to make art, it's to be in that wonderful state in which makes art inevitable. I'm inspired by you all. Enjoy the rest of March, and I'd love to hear back from you. Janis Commentz. Be sure to visit my website at janiscommentz.com or my Etsy shop, French Press and Mojave Inspiration. Both of the links are on my newsletter.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.